Today's message from Reverend Christian Sorensen was recorded April 2nd, 2017, and it's titled 99 Years of Private Lessons. Today's affirmation, I understand what life is telling me. And today we welcome the talent and voice of Marianne Lewis, who can be found on joyouspodcast.com. Simply search for 99 Years and that episode will come up. And you can also visit us at seasidecenter.org and join us in Encinitas, California on a Sunday sometime, where we always have great music, a spirited message, and a joyful, loving, vibrant community that awaits you.
Okay, well, it's a pleasure to be here and at Seaside this April morning. And we have a guest with us this morning who is no stranger to Seaside. In fact, she comes from Agape up in LA. And not only does she go to Agape, she's actually sings in the choir. She's one of the soloists with the choir. And she's one of the assistant directors of the choir. So she knows a little bit about music. In fact, she also was blessed very recently to sing with the one and only Stevie Wonder. Wow, I was right. And there's a guy called Dalai Lama. You probably heard of him. He's 80. He just turned 80. She sang for his birthday, his 80th birthday. What about that, huh? Pretty cool and groovy. So anyway, so she comes with a plethora of musical talents, but a bigger heart than life itself. Beautiful, talented, all the way down from LA's Agape. So let's put your hands together for a good Seaside welcome to Miss Marianne Lewis.
Thank you. Oh, wow. Hello, Seaside. I second that, Kinjara. It's so warm here. It's so beautiful, and I'm just grateful to be here. So this song that I'm sharing with you all, it reminded me of a time when I was going through some struggle. I was having a bit of a challenge, and I was sitting there and had all these bills in front of me, and I'm trying to stretch $1 and make it happen, and I'm just wondering, what is this life about? What is it about? I'm feeling kind of victimized right now, and this isn't feeling so good. And I got right then, it's like, Marianne, you are here to shine your light and to encourage and celebrate others to do the same. So we're here to just fully give it up. Are you guys ready to shine your light? To leave nothing on the table? Just let's be large and be here for the presence. And so this song came through as a reminder that I'm not a victim. I'm the power. So we are the power, everybody. Here we go. Hadn't yet discovered there's a spark in our heart. Sitting, waiting so patiently to ignite with the right conductivity. You are your own utility. Turn on the light. We're the power. We are the power. We are the power. Yeah. Ooh. We're the power. We are the power. We are the power. Yeah. Don't have to wait between 11 and 8 to turn your light on. The moment is now. Wow. Pull up the weeds from erroneous seeds and get that right on. Don't wait for the city to take out your trash, to provide your fire or to give you your gas. A mind aligned with the truth of the day will reveal the passion that'll rocket your way. Strike that match today and be that light with the power. We are the power. We are the power. Yeah. Ooh, take it, Matt. switch, 'cause you are the commander of your own light switch. It's time to flick. Come on, Bob, what you got?
For sure. Fabulous. Oh my goodness, what a great song. Watch out, Edison. We got a new light in the world. Whew. Mary Ann Lewis. Thank you. All right, so here we go. This morning's message is the staying power of our teaching. What I want us to get is our teaching is as relevant now as it was when Ernest Holmes brought it forward. Our teaching now is as important as ever for what is going on in our world as well as our life. What I am doing this year is I'm participating. Our whole movement is talking about the same topic every week. And so actually the title of this morning's message was 99 years of private lessons. I was like, what in the world are they talking about with that? And I was trying to figure it out. And then I came to discover there's this book called Love and the Law. And a dear friend of mine, Marilyn Leo, she was Reginald Armour's daughter. And Reginald Armour was the one who started with Ernest Holmes when he started this philosophy back in the 20s. And they lived next door to each other. And Marilyn grew up next door to Ernest, would run over and have barbecues over there during the summer with Ernest. She actually had Ernest baptize her little doll once. And so her relationship to Ernest was as close as they come. And there's nobody around any longer that knew Ernest like she did. And so she's the head of our archives. And she put together a book called Love and the Law that took his talks that he did in 1918. See, our movement started in 1927 when he was 40, so he was 30 years old when he did these talks, and it was said that he would just start talking on Tuesdays. He would just talk off the cuff and just channel whatever came through him, and they were transcribed, and she put them together in this book called The Love and the Law. And The Love and the Law shows up in one of the first chapters of Ernest Holmes' book, The Science of Mind, that says it's the love. Love points the way, and the law makes the way possible. The love is the warmth. The love is God. Love is the spirit. Love is the color. Love is the excitement. Love is that personal touch. Love is that aspect we like to think that God is. And the law, that is like the part you can depend on. It's like you jump off a cliff, gravity's going to bring you down, and it doesn't matter who you are. You know, you can be a king or a peasant, you're going down. Or it's math. You know, two of these and two of these make four of those. Even before there was math, two of these and two of these make that many. You know, that is a law. It is definite. It's mechanical. And as we begin to work with the Spirit, we begin to recognize that there is something that is definite, it is dependable, it is unfolding, it is infallible, and that's what we work with. And so when we are moved from the place of love and caring and warmth, and know that there is a law that executes it, that's kind of the whole package. Because we heard, like, in the beginning was the Word. Well, that's the love aspect. So anyway, all that led up to this point. I'm going to read you something from the first page of this book called The Love and the Law, where Ernest talks to us about what he feels is important. He said that if you learn to live today and get a lot out of your life and have as much fun as I've had today and be as prosperous as you ought to be and be well, you should not worry about what's going to happen tomorrow. You take absolutely too much responsibility upon yourself worrying about tomorrow, because that amounts to fear, which is the natural consequence of a belief in limitation. In other words, stop worrying about tomorrow. If you got today working and today is good, give up that worry about tomorrow. That just, you cannot help but to experience limitation and fear and constriction if you got this concern, because that's where your energy going. And so these lessons that Ernest taught us 99 years ago are as relevant for today as they were then. Where are you putting your attention, is he saying? If it's on fear and anxiety, boom, you're guaranteed to have that going on in your life. You've got to be able to move your thinking, because you've created your own prison. Now, I remember when the first time I saw Alcatraz, you remember that island out in the bay up in San Francisco, and you heard the stories that, our most notorious criminals and murderers were put there because there was no escaping Alcatraz, the Rock, Al Capone. They are there for life. But, I'm looking at it and thinking, that's a pretty nice piece of real estate. There's an island sitting in the bay. It's surrounded by these sparkling waters with sailboats just drifting and catching the wind. These birds just flying free through the sky, and a bridge with cars going to who knows where. It's like pretty magical stuff. And then I thought, what torment to actually be in prison and see these people going to wherever they want to go, and you're stuck. That is there. You see these birds sailing and coasting on the currents of the breeze, and you can't be free. That's not a very good thing. You got this wide, expansive ocean, and you are stuck. Well, my goodness. It's kind of what we do with our life, if you kind of noticed. We've got infinite possibilities. We got unlimited freedom. We got opportunities, bridges that will take us to wherever it is that we have dreamt. We have got the winds of the celestial realms ready to carry us, and we are stuck behind the bars of our own imprisonment with our thinking, with our limited thoughts. We have got us in a place that is stuck. Maybe not you. But you may escape the island. But the challenge with our prison is like a mobile prison. It's like an emotional RV. We drive on up into work and we park it in the parking lot, and then we go have our stuff with our employers. Or what about that emotional RV? You park it in your relationship's driveway. Have you ever noticed how much room those RVs take up? And you got your baggage in there that you're dragging on out, and all of a sudden, you're putting out there, and you're dressing up your short fallings, and it's like you've got the fear of maybe your anger, and so you're overcompensating by being this gregarious person, friendly, entertaining. But the truth is, you've got this fear of this anger that's going to burst forth, or the sense of you're unlovable, and so you create this sense of being aloof and mysterious, and people don't really get to know you, and then you really don't have to deal with that. Or I can keep going on with the list of things that we put on and say, well, this is just my personality. Yeah, this is just who I am. That's not just who you are. That is what you're dressing yourself up, imprisoning yourself, and you have brought it to wherever you're going in life, in relationship, at work, wherever. Leave it in the RV, and leave that RV somewhere else, and begin to recognize that, you know what, I can create in my world from the level of choice. This lesson that Ernest Holmes gave us about that we're on the borderline of infinite possibilities, what he was talking about from this particular chapter. Infinite possibilities. And yet we allow ourselves to be stuck. We use these stories to help us get it, as to what we're doing. There was a student who once asked his master teacher, how come you tell us all these stories and never tell us their meaning? I'm sure you never think about that with me. And the master teacher said, how would you feel if I gave you some fruit and I were to chew it up for you before I gave it to you? He says, there is no one who can tell you the meaning of a story for you. That is solely up to your interpretation. It's up to you to figure out what kind of prison you have got yourself in. Where is it are you looking at the beauty and the magnificence and the abundance of God, and yet you're experiencing the lack and limitation that is imprisoning you tomorrow because you're dealing with the cause that is today? That you cast this vibration, this attracting frequency that begins to pull into your experience that which matches it. Ernest Holmes, back then in 1918, 99 years ago, called it the law of attraction. You can read about it in his book, The Science of Mind. It was published in 1927, page 294. He talks about the law of attraction. Others talk about the law of compensation. We talk about what goes around, comes around. Others talk about mental equilibrium. It doesn't matter. It's what you are putting your focus on and your energy that begins to be drawn into your experience. And you don't always get to decide what it is that's being drawn in that matches that. You kind of get what's left over in life. If you're just going with that heavy, darker kind of stuff. I've got this vibration that only those that lurk on the bottom are attracted to. You don't know what bottom feeders are going to show up in your world. But there's going to be some that show up there. And all of a sudden you see them go, no. Well, I got to tell you, we know about the law of attraction. It says, yes, I want this. And I set up that frequency and you get it, right? Yes, affirmations, we work on it, we create, yes. Some of you got it. Okay. Well, I want you to understand that just as powerful as yes is no. No. Because when you go, no, you're looking at it, aren't you? When you go, no, you're loving it, aren't you? You may not be loving it, but you're hating it, which is kind of the same kind of energetic. And no. It's like law of attraction goes where there's attraction. Where your attention goes, energy flows. No. It's because you're looking at it, you're giving it its life. In an attracting universe, there is no. Because it's attraction. It's not yes, it's not no, it's attraction. And whether it's a positive or a negative, there is an attraction thing that is going on. So if you got something that shows up, the best thing to do is to say, whoa, and just let it float out of your purview like clouds in the sky. Because if you don't love it or give it attention, it's going to just keep moving. It's going to go where someone says, hey, yo, I love you, or I don't love you. But anyway, it's going to show up where there's energy. And if you don't have that matching energy, it's going to keep going. But what happens with our challenges sometimes is that we get so caught up with the yes and the no. I like this, I don't like this. I'm going to mock up this picture so I can get rid of this picture I don't want. And all of it has value. But eventually we exhaust ourselves when you have an issue that continues to just grow in your life. And the more it grows, the more attention. You're loving it at 3 a.m. in the morning. You're able to describe it to your friends like nobody else could. It's because you love it so much, though you say you don't, but yet you're talking about it, you're thinking about it. What happens at some point eventually is like you're taken to your knees. You're just desperate. I'm exhausted. I'm positive. And finally, in the sense of desperation, when you give it all up, you become available to hear the Word of God, to see as Spirit sees, to begin to understand. You begin to merge back into the whole where there is a sense of surrender, of forgiveness, but there's really nothing to forgive. It's just you begin to merge because Spirit has been there the whole time. But you're the one who's been in the prison. You're the one who's created the dynamic and have defended that dynamic with all the attention that you have been giving it. Rumi, a wonderful mystic, Sufi mystic poet, he said that whenever you find a lover of God lying on a bed of pain, you'll find the beloved standing right by. Spirit is right there. Spirit is available. But we have to be willing to recognize, you know what, I'm in pain, not pretend that it doesn't exist. We've got to be willing to say, you know what, I've got something going on in my life, and I'm not quite sure how or why, and it is colluding, my shadow, if it would colluding with the collective shadow because a crisis has come up, and there's something in me that has been triggered here. See, when something gets triggered in you, there's some work for you to do. There's something for you to look at. But a lot of times we don't want to look at it. What we want to do is just stick it in the box, sit on, say, okay, you don't exist. No, back. No, it doesn't go on. And it will get triggered again. And it will get moved again. And it's valuable for us to be able to look at that shadow aspect of ourselves so we are able to move through it, not have to hide it, not to pretend, but say, hey, you know what? It's a cloud that is passing through. It stayed for a while, created a bit of a storm. And what's going on in our world will activate that which is inside of us, the anger, the resentment, the animosity, the fear, the limitation. And sometimes things need to fall apart first. Emanuel Swedenborg, fabulous philosopher, theologian from the 1700s, wrote New Jerusalem, wrote about heaven and hell, mystic for sure. I believe was the one who really influenced Mary Baker Eddy's teaching. Not that she fesses up to that, but Marv. Emanuel Swedenborg in about 1700 wrote, before anything is brought back into order, it is normal for it to be brought first into a kind of confusion, a virtual chaos. And it's in this way, things that fit together badly are severed from each other. And when they have been severed, then the Lord can arrange them in order. Spirit or life can then begin to bring forth the proper order, the new design, the new emergence, the new possibility, the new Jerusalem, that greater expression of Spirit. And when things begin to shift in our world, things begin to change. And everything is changing in our life these days in terms of, I don't know, in the world, let's say, the finances and the business, politics, religion, spirituality. Things are beginning to change because there's a newness and there's a new light and a greater possibility that is emerging out of this chaos or this havoc in which he was talking. And the brighter the light, the bigger the shadow. And are you willing to go into your shadow and take a look at what's in there? What's lurking in the depth of the darkness of the labyrinth of your subjective, just kind of pulling strings that you don't even know that's going on. Yeah? Are you willing? I know for myself, on my shadow side, I take a look at myself sometimes, and I think as a child I had these great revelations, mystical experiences, and ecstasy, and just thought I was this little savior that came to this world. And, healing was just the natural thing. And as I take a look at my world, I recognize I may not be as spotless in my virtue as I had anticipated and when I was a child. And maybe my healing process is not quite what I thought it could be or should be. I take a look at my shadow side. It's kind of this ambition that is inside of me. I take a look at my prejudices, or how I dress my prejudices and call them, this is the truth. Right? This is the truth, guys. There you go. But possibly there would be a little bit more space for another perspective here. Another shadow is I want to be loved for my selfless service to humanity. It's just all these ridiculous things that play in there, but they kind of hold me back and they come up from time to time. But what I've discovered is I'm willing to look and share with you my flaws and shortcomings. What I come to discover is that Spirit's known about this all along. I really haven't been fooling God here. Not that God's anything outside in judgment. It's just, life has known the truth about me. And what I recognize is this immense amount of forgiveness for that aspect of my shadow self. I recognize not forgiveness from anyone, but there's just a merging back into the whole that I come to recognize the unconditional love, that unconditional aspect of spirit that's not sitting there in judgment, but the profound gift that I have is I am known for truly who I am, and I am loved unconditionally for that which I am, and doing my best in this world, which frees me from the imprisonment of my roving RV that's filled with junk. But you got to do it. You got to go there. See, Ernest Holmes, he talks about in 1918, you only really know as much as you can prove. Right? You may talk about abundance, but if you're having trouble paying grocery bills, you don't necessarily have that one down yet. Yes, even the little ones know that, we can talk about this great spirituality, but the proof of the pudding's in the tasting is how the saying goes, right? That is what it comes down to. I mean, you can talk about how wonderful water can quench your thirst, but you got to drink the water to have your thirst quenched. You can talk about food, but that's not going to satisfy your tummy. You've got to partake of that. You've got to begin to experience that presence. I teach this class on going to the mountaintop and having this greater view. But you can't stay up there on the mountaintop. You can philosophize and understand and see as spirit sees, but you got to come back down into the mountain, from the mountain, and enter back into the world. You've got to begin to partake of the drink and the food of this life and this world. You've got to begin to be that place in which there is the integration of that which you have seen and you know is possible into your self-expression. And life begins to give you the opportunities in which you are able to bring forth the heaven to earth. You're able to bring forth that spiritual dimension into the greater expression of your walk in this world. The stories of Jesus saying that my peace I give you, not as the world gives, but as I give. He's saying, at least my perspective is, there's another dimension here, guys. The peace I give you isn't coming from this world. It's coming from a different vibration that is available to you. The peace that I give you. My kingdom's not of this world, is what he said. Right? There's another dimension. This heavenly kingdom, you don't get more chariots and horses and airplanes and armaments and gold and silver. My kingdom is without the battleships and the battles and the bombs. But it's with everything that is ever needed. It is omnipotent. It is the only power. It's not a power over something. It is omni. It is everything. It is through everything. And as I choose to merge with that and allow my sense of separation to dissolve the energetic expression that I am, that attracting factor that begins to be inspired from this divine vibration of that mountaintop view, I begin to recognize that this world can be overlaid with that kingdom expression, that dimension, that vibration is always available, a realm where there is no death, where that expression of life continues on with an ease and a grace, and you lay a body down, but you didn't die. You are as aware and awake and available as ever, because this being just operates within that energetic field of attraction for this realm. But I'm going to choose to expand my awareness from that elevated mountaintop perspective, from that mystical perspective, and realize anything that I could need or I ever want is available to me right here, right now. And I'm going to be that place where the divine has expression. And we feel it. But the mind can't grasp it. At least this is what Ernest was talking about 99 years ago. There's so much more that is beyond the philosophical perspective. But there's something inside that says, yeah, this is right. And I love the visual of this story. It's not that funny of a story, but I like the picture of it. And it's of a big old elephant, just sitting and basking in the jungle pool, loving life, relaxing, when this little mouse came up and stood on the rock, put its little legs and hands on its hips, and said, "Get out of that water right now." He said, "Excuse me?" "I don't think so." He said, "I want you to get out of there right now." And he said, "Why?" And he said, "Well, you get out there right now, and then I will tell you, but I won't tell you until you get out." And he said, "Forget it." And so he just continued to bask until he was done. And finally, when he was done doing his elephant thing in the jungle pool, he lumbered on out, and he went up to the mountain and said, "Okay, here I am. What did you want? He looked and said, I just wanted to make sure you weren't wearing my bathing suit. I just love that visual. And it would be a lot easier for an elephant to fit into a mouse's bathing suit than it would be for God to fit into our mind. And yet that's exactly what we're thinking, that God could fit into our consciousness here. It doesn't work like that. Spirit is so much bigger. An elephant can't fit into a mouse's bathing suit, and spirit can't fit into our mind. But what I can do is surrender my differentiation, my identification, my sense of separateness, and merge back into the whole of spirit and allow that vibration, that frequency to become the attracting factor in my world that will free me from the prison, because I am already in that kingdom. I am already in the kingdom of heaven of God. I'm standing on that island that some will see as a prison, but you know what? It is sparkling, and see the bridges taking us to places only we can dream of. The winds carrying us to destinations that only our heart flutters to experience. That is available to us right now in this very moment when I allow that spirit to flow through me. I was outside watering yesterday. Spring is here, got the garden going. I pull my hose. You've all done this. And it stops. The water was coming out just a moment ago. And I look back and there's the kink. There's a knot. Now, my hose just sits there all day, all week, all winter. I don't know how it gets twisted up with knots in it and kinks in it. But somehow, just sitting there, it does something when I'm not around. And when I bring it out and it's working and then it stops, what I do is I go back and figure out, okay, and I straighten out the kink that's in the hose. And it works. Well, in our life, it's working. Our life is grooving. Things are happy. And then stops. All that's happened is there's a kink for that divine flow to come through. Because I have now set forth an attention or an attraction to something that is no longer supporting my freedom and my magnificence and my joy and my well-being. So I got to straighten out the kink. That's all you got to do to clean up your mind, your consciousness. You computer guys, you reboot. You hit refresh. That's it. Refresh. And you go back and you start working. Now, refresh our consciousness, unkinking our consciousness sometimes may take more than just one reboot, one press. It's if we have got some deep-seated experiences, those neurological pathways, synapses that they fired. We talked about that last week. Things that wire together, fire together. And so let's say, hey, I was taking class with Christian, mountaintop class. I got it. My world, I was kind of intimidated because as a kid I was humiliated when I was speaking, so I've never felt good talking to people, and that came up. But now I recognize what it is. I spoke up at work, and now I'm healed and I am fine. Well, I don't think so. I believe yes, but that's one experience, one nice little experience. But if you have had many patterns from childhood supporting your old perspective, I would guess that you might need to refresh again, reboot again. I think that tonight you might be having a little deeper, more serious conversation with your significant other when you get home. And if you get it there, then maybe tomorrow you get to speak with the in-laws. And if that works, then you got to do your work. It's consistent. It's not, hey, I see what's wrong. I did something right about it once and I'm all better. No, it is a continual unfolding of what it is that we are working on in our life, so I can recognize, hey, this shadow aspect of myself, you know what? I really got to be in selfless service for selfless service sake, not because I want to be loved for it, but because, you know what? And so when it comes up, I got to continue to step in. You got to continue to step in. You got to continue to step in. So the vibration of your being begins to attract. It's done unto you as you believe. And if you did nice prayers for 15 minutes one day, but you spend the other 23 hours and 45 minutes grumbling about life, I want to give you a little heads up. It's the totality of your subjective thoughts that will either imprison you or free you to fly on the winds with the goals that are there. And when you get it, it will transfer into your life wherever it's necessary. In whatever ways. There is no large or small. See, that's another spiritual principle that Ernest was telling us in 1918, 99 years ago. These principles still hold up. There is no large or small, though we think some things are bigger deals than others. Spirit's fully omnipresent. Terry shares a story of a cab driver who got a call or a fare at 3 a.m. one morning. I thought it was late. Actually, it was early. But drove up to the house in a neighborhood where it was all dark except for one light on the bottom story of these apartments. And he said sometimes the cabbies will just give a quick little honk. The person shows up or they're out of there. You never know what's going on. But he went up to the door and knocked. He heard an elderly voice say, "I'll be there in a moment." And then he heard like this dragging across the floor. And the front door opened, and it was an elderly woman in a printed dress and a pin box hat with lace pinned up. She looked like she was out of a 1940s movie. And as he looked in the apartment, it looked like nobody actually lived there for a long time. The furniture was covered in sheets, no pictures or clocks on the wall, no knickknacks in the shelves. She said, "Could you carry my bag?" And so he picked up this bag and took it to the trunk, came back, got her, walked her out to the car and sat down. And she gave him a piece of paper with an address and said, "Would you drive through downtown on the way?" He said, "Well, it's not the most direct route." She said, "That's okay. I'm on my way to hospice this morning, and I don't have any family or any friends, and I just like to, drive downtown." And he looked back there and just saw her eyes tearing up, and he turned off the meter and took her, downtown, and they stopped in front of a building where she said she used to work as an elevator operator when she was a young girl. And then they drove through a neighborhood where she first lived as a newlywed with her husband at that time. And then had him stop in front of a furniture store and said, "This used to be where I used to dance as a kid." And then she'd have him stop at other corners, and she wouldn't say anything, but she would just drift off in memory. And after a couple, 3 hours, and the sun started to come up, she said, "I'm tired. You're going to take me to that dress now." And so as he drove up to this low building, looked like a convalescent home, and drove up into the portico, there were a couple of attendants or orderlies that were right out there as if they were expecting her, didn't know what happened to her. And as he went to get the bag, she was already in the wheelchair, and she said, "Let me pay you." And he said, No. She said, "Hey, you got to make a living." He said, "No, I got other fares, but can I have a hug?" And he hugged her, and she held, and she just wouldn't let go. And finally, he did, and watched her get wheeled off and heard the door close on a life, if you would. But I share that story because Spirit is there. She was good with this part of her life. Stepping forth from here is as natural as coming in here. And she was good with Spirit in her world. One who's watching a particular situation may have other dynamics that move through the filter of their own thinking. What's important is that you get good with where you are in life, because the kingdom of heaven is at hand. And it transfers down to whatever is going on in your life. There is no large or small, whether you're dealing with the continuity of life, whether you're dealing with finances, whether you're dealing with relationships, whether you're dealing with career, it doesn't matter. But what's important is that you don't try to change conditions with God. "Hey, God, would you get down here and take care of this for me? I want to use you, God." You can't use God. God's not your servant. Don't you get that? But we're taught to pray, "God, go do this." No, God is not our servant. We can't tell Spirit what to do. We can't tell truth what to do. What we can do is understand God, or attempt to understand Spirit, or attempt to understand truth. We can't make it do something on our behalf. But as we begin to step forth into life, these teachings are as relevant for today as they were 99 years ago. These teachings are to assist us to begin to encompass the greater possibilities of life and to squelch the concept of coming from a place of scarcity or lack or limitation or fear or anger or prejudice or resentment, but to recognize that the full presence of the kingdom of God is at hand. And when I am able to remember the teachings that Ernest Holmes gave us and that the mystics have given us and that the timeless truths from the beginning of time have been there, that said you can begin to tap into the limitless possibilities no matter what it is that you're facing. And it is a matter of attracting that which already is into your life experience. You will begin to see not only your life as one of goodness, but also the world in which we live. And transformation is ours because change is at hand. God bless you in this time of life. Let's keep it going as we bring Mary Ann Lewis back to our stage.
Thank
welcome.
Just love him. Thank you. So grateful for the reminder of the love, the law. It's always working. And this song came through to share. And I think of us as spiritual warriors. We're on the front lines. We are the ones who take the time to meditate, to turn within, to see the world in the way that we want to see it, working for everyone. And that is the most powerful work that we can be doing on the planet right now. And so I just invite you to perhaps go within, close your eyes, and see with me, and know that that vibration is powerful when we do this together. A wonderful world. Of green, red roses too. I see them bloom for me and you. And I think to myself, oh, what a wonderful world. I see skies of blue, clouds of white, the bright blessed day, the dark sacred night. And I think to myself, oh, what a wonderful world. The colors of the rainbow, so pretty in the sky, they are also on the faces of the people going by. I see friends shaking hands, saying, how do you do? They're really saying, I love you. I hear babies cry, I watch them grow. They'll learn much more than you and I will ever know. And I think to myself, oh, what a wonderful world. The colors of the rainbow, oh, they're so pretty in the sky. They are also on the faces of all the people going by. I see friends shaking hands, shake somebody's hand, saying, how do you do? They're really saying, I love you. I hear babies cry, and I watch them grow. They'll learn much more than you and I will ever know. And I think to myself, oh, what a wonderful world. I think to myself, what a wonderful
That is Marianne Lewis. Oh my goodness. Stevie Wonder was lucky to have you this last month. Thank you.
Hello, this is Christian, and if you've been enjoying Joyous Podcasts, I encourage you to support us so we can continue to be here. Your gifts is what allows this to continue to be made available for free for everyone. It now goes to more than 55 countries around the world, and it's because you have taken advantage of the opportunity to go to Joyous Podcasts and make a financial contribution. And because of that, you have made a difference. Your gifts make it possible for us to continue sharing this freely. Share this with your friends and have them go to joyouspodcast.com. Joyous blessings to you.